Hey everyone, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with another comic review. This time I'll be doing Gotham by Gaslight, Tale of the Batman. Now this is a very interesting story because it takes place in the 1800s where Batman goes up against Jack the Ripper. Now if you're new to comics or new to Batman, you're probably thinking, well, how is that possible? How did Batman get to the 1800s? Well, this is what's called Elseworlds. It came out in 1989, and this spawned the sort of line of DC comics known as Elseworlds. They all got this emblem, which is when you take a popular character such as Batman, and you take him out of his usual time and setting, and put him somewhere else, or something like Jack the Ripper, or something like Dracula, to get a completely original, unrelated story. And the beauty of it is, they're pretty much what-if stories. It's like this probably started out as, what if Batman had to find Jack the Ripper? And the beauty is that if this was in the mainstream continuity, they would have had to explain how he got there, why he went there, bunch of bullshit around it. But with Elseworlds, you can just tell the story. You don't have to have, this many volumes to get across one idea. And in fact, this isn't even the whole story. In fact, this is Gotham by Gaslight and its sequel, Master of the Future. So Gotham by Gaslight is really only that thin. It's like 24 pages. Crazy short. Like unbelievably short. It's like the length of one issue. And this was the very first Elseworld story. I mean, there's many of them. There's actually a trilogy to the Dracula story, but this is the only one I have with the emblem. There's also Batman Year 100. Bunch of them. And most of the Superman ones is what if his ship landed somewhere other than Smallville. So yeah, it takes place in Victorian-era Gotham City. Batman has just Bruce Wayne has just arrived to Gotham from traveling and training abroad. So it's also sort of an origin story. In fact, it opens up with him. You think it opens up with the death of his parents. But he's also in a room, you think it's a therapy session, talking about the dreams of his parents and the bats. And you find out he's talking to Freud. And he's sort of learning philosophy and psychology from Freud. And when he gets back to Gotham, Gotham is in a state of fear because there's a serial killer about killing women out in the streets. Just a year after Whitechapel, London had all their murders. So this takes place after the real-life historical Jack the Ripper case. Of course, it's all fiction. It takes place in fucking Gotham. And basically, the story is Bruce Wayne, he shows up, starts being Batman. The city doesn't know if Batman is friend or foe, if Batman and the Ripper are one or separate. Bruce Wayne gets framed, goes to jail. On the day he's about to hang, he breaks out because he finds out who the killer is, and he goes after the killer. That's basically it. In 2017? Sorry if I sound fucked up. My nose is stuffy again. I'm pretty sure it's 2017. 18, I guess. It was turned into an animated film, which this will be my next review. But how did they get a 78-minute film out of that and what I just explained? Well, I'll get to it in that review. And for such a short story, I mean, how is it able to spawn an animated film and able to spawn off, a whole line of comics? Well, the idea alone probably did, but this was a very popular story when it came out back in '89. Written by Brian Augustyn, and it was penciled by Mike Mignola and colored by David Hornung. And I really like this story because, as you can see on this shelf, I'm very into real-life true crime serial killers. Jack the Ripper being one of my favorite ones to read about. Batman, favorite superhero, and just one of my favorite characters in general, or pop culture icons. And he's the world's greatest detective. And I really like things set in like Victorian era, in the Victorian era. So pitting the world's greatest detective against the greatest, or probably I should say most notorious unsolved murder case. And I mean, even though it is really short, I mean, it is kind of convenient. Like, Satcher figures out who he just has Gordon give him some evidence while he's in jail because he believes Bruce is innocent. And then, once he figures it out, that's when he decides to break out. Like, in this panel, he tells Alfred that he's open the door, like he's just gonna leave. Which, see, that's what I mean. It's like, it takes a couple really sharp, convenient kind of steps to get the story along. And if you're new to comics, I'm gonna say spoiler alert, but I highly recommend this. It's a good, short, interesting read. IGN ranked this, I think, 12th in the top 25 Batman graphic novels. It's definitely worth a read. So, spoilers. Bruce Wayne has an Uncle Jake, who's he's like the family, solicitor? Yeah, family solicitor. So, I don't know, like financial advisor or whatever. So when Bruce comes back, Jake kind of, I don't really know what he does to help him. Jake did come from money, but he mingles in and out of, lower and upper class. He's accepted by everyone. And he's sort of like a loudmouth, sort of like an innocent loudmouth. Loves to drink. And he was actually a friend of Thomas, and he goes on to say how, Thomas was his friend, he helped him out, put him through all these schools so he could have a career. But he was in love with Martha, who rejected him, and, ended up with Thomas, and that rejection sort of made him snap, and her laughter. So that's why he went after. He hired someone to kill the Waynes. So he was behind his parents' death and Jack the Ripper, which is kind of interesting. And that's the thing with Elseworlds. You can kind of do anything. And I know some people have a problem with him having an uncle. I do agree that Batman should be completely familyless. That's kind of why he became Batman, because he lost his family, didn't have anybody. I think people say the same thing about the Punisher. It's like, oh, your wife and kid were killed. Don't you have any other family? Tangent, but... And, I mean, there were some significant changes to this, but I think it worked for the better. I kind of liked how... I like who the killer was better in this than in this, because it was different, but I didn't mind this either. And I like how they put like these newspaper clippings and sort of a narrative structure, like when he's in court. It's all very short. Oh, like I said, I like the recreation of the Dear Boss letter from Jack the Ripper. You know, like they even put letters backwards and misspelled words. Sort of talked almost childish or like uneducated, much like the letters said for the real Jack the Ripper. Bruce Wayne is framed because, you know, bloody knife and bloody, I think it's a handkerchief, were placed and found in his home, and that's why he was found guilty. And oh yeah, I guess Harvey Dent was like the a prosecutor, talks about how I thought we were friends. So, a bit of two-face backstabbery. But anyway, I mean, it spawned the whole Elseworlds label. It's a good, you know, it is a tale of the Batman. It's just a story, and I think it's a well-told one. Might be a little too short, I mean, but even for how short it is told very well, and it is interesting. But yeah, that is Batman Gotham by Gaslight. At some point, I'll get to a Master of the Future. I've heard it's really bad. I've heard it's okay. I think it takes place like 3 years after Gaslight. Which in fact, hold on a second. I just want to see something while I'm here. Why won't anyone just say the guy's name? Well, because I guess Master of the Future opens up with this big fighter, and I just want to see if it's like the fight in that, but they're not saying the guy's goddamn name. Anyway, I'm taking up too much time. Maybe some of Master of the Future was put into this. I don't know. I haven't read Master of the Future yet. But anyway, Batman Gotham by Gaslight. Classic Batman comic. I would recommend it. But anyway, thank you for watching.